Let's see, which car do we talk about today? Pop's truck? Not today. Ooh, I know. The 21. Yeah. Nope. A Calypso. That's it. Not feeling that either. Maybe Berger's car. We do have some stuff to talk about for both of these, but nope, not today. Today, our mission is to talk about the Retro Fox. You guys want to know what it takes to boost a car. It's probably gonna need a jump box, by the way, but we'll set the camera up and I'll see if I can get this thing going. We're gonna back it out, wash it up, and then we're gonna talk about it. Where the hell is the key? Oh, there it is. Nope, I mean, we are completely dead. If you can hear the fuel pump running on one of these cars after the battery died, that means that you've lost your tune. Telling y'all, it's always some bull. What's the problem here? Okay, here, well, let me just cut the camera off. That didn't work out. Car lost its tune when I finally got it jumped off. Battery's dead because that was a bad battery that I had. I forgot. I put the good battery in the poop coop. Lost its tune, and I don't have my laptop that has all the software on it because that is currently in the Carbon Fox, and Berger has that at his house, locked up in the garage, and Berger is out of town. So I'm gonna show you guys the new wheel setup. You guys ready to see the new wheels? You ready? 1, 2. Nothing. I didn't mean to really trick y'all guys today. It was just kind of last minute. I thought it was funny, whatever. So since we don't have the Retro Fox that we can bring around here, we can still have a car out here that we can look at and talk about, right? So I made a post on Facebook today and I said, hey, what are some of the things that you guys can think of that would be a good topic to talk about? Basically, whether it's old, new, whatever, something we need to revisit. And I got a few comments on the same thing, so I think we're gonna roll that, and it's a really good idea to be talking about, which is, what do I do if I just wanna boost my car? So it's a stock car maybe, or maybe you don't know what it is. That's actually probably more legit than anything. The best way to treat that is gonna be to treat it like it is stock. So let's talk about what we need to do whenever we start with a stock car and we want to boost this thing. We need to talk about ring gap. There's a bunch of stuff. So let's go ahead and pop the hood on this car and we'll talk about it. You guys got to work with me here, okay? We're pretending today. So let's talk about the fact that most of you guys have a stock 302 and you're probably looking to boost it. And you want to know what it's going to take to be able to do that. Well, first off, you got to buy your supercharger, your turbo, whatever it is you decide to run. Me personally, I like a turbo on a stock bottom end, like stock car, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds of boost, something like that. Also, I like the Vortex superchargers. They work really well. So that's something that you guys can pick up relatively cheap, but as crazy as it sounds, your On 3 turbo kits are usually the best bang for the buck. You're gonna make block splitting horsepower, okay? Fuel is gonna be your next major issue. What do you need to do so that you can make boost, right? Now you got a couple different options here. You can put an FMU, which is a fuel management unit, I think isn't that what that stands for? Anyway, that adds an extra pump in line, and when it senses boost, it'll increase pressure for you, right? So that's something that is definitely doable, but I think you probably need to stay realistic as far as boost. I don't know, I wouldn't try to be making 600, 700, 800 horsepower with an FMU setup, but they absolutely do work. Now, for you guys that want to take it to the next level, on a FOXBODY 302, even 351, something like that, I'll go ahead and tell you right now, you need at least 60-pound injectors. I would go 80s though, bare minimum. Now, when it comes to fuel pumps, if you're staying EFI, we will talk carb, by the way, but I would recommend nothing less than a 340 pump, nothing less. Do not do the 255 unless you're going FMU. Now, you'll be okay there with a 255. I recommend a 340, if not a 450 pump, or a 525, guys. You can stick a 525 pump in one of these cars, and then all you got to do is a wiring upgrade. Now, what that's going to do is be able to supply enough pressure, enough fuel up to your injectors no matter which size you have, and you're going to be good to go. You can have big injectors but a small pump and it's still not going to work in harmony, okay? You're still going to be taxing this fuel pump trying to send as much fuel as it can up here, okay? So that wiring upgrade is really good. You can check out my channel for that. Also Neo Mustangs as well. You got everything. Let's say you go ahead and bolt this thing on and you get your injectors in and you got your fuel pump. Here's my choice. It's going to be a 1-to-1 fuel pressure regulator for EFI. And what that's going to do is increase fuel pressure for every pound of boost. It's going to increase fuel pressure by 1 PSI, right? So it's pound for pound. Even with that, you still got another issue, which is tuning.
Somebody told me you were looking for some new, fresh gear, whether it be F100, FOXBODY, S550, we've got you covered. We've got all the cool designs, the bright colors, the vintage stuff, patina, doesn't matter. Head over to Etsy and check out the Drag Swag. It's a great way to support the channel.
Oh boy. This is probably what a lot of you guys want to know about. So before we get into the tuning side of things, because I feel like this is what most people are going to be curious about, I want to remind you guys, with a stock bottom end car that's got some mileage on it, right? Maybe you got a stock FOXBODY and it's got 200,000 miles, 100,000 miles, whatever. Typically you can get away with around 8. I'm going to stop at 8. We've done way more than that, but I think it's recommended to stop somewhere around 8 PSI, because what happens, you build up so much heat inside of that cylinder wall, those rings are gapped really tight and they'll actually hit each other and expand and knock the edge of your piston off, okay? So that's what happens, and that's why people say you need to file fit your rings or get somebody to do it for you. If you don't know, if you're not comfortable, that's fine, but it needs to be done. But I'll go ahead and tell you, you can get away usually with around 8 to 10 PSI, something like that. You are taking a gamble anytime you slap boost on one of these unknown engines, whether it be stock or whether it be something that, you know, you picked up from somebody. You really need to know how much those rings are gapped so you know how much boost that you can run safely. Most of you guys aren't gonna worry about it, so just try to stay around 8 PSI and you should be good. So here's where the people argue the most, in my opinion, is tuning. So I'm gonna leave it up to you. Here's what I recommend you do. You find a local tuner around you. You find somebody that's close by, or you're willing to travel, or maybe you heard about them, whoever you want to use. You pick the phone up, you call them up and you say, hey, look, I've got a FOXBODY with this and that done to it. What system do you want me to buy so that you can tune my car? Most people really don't think about it like that, but that's the way you should be thinking about it, honestly. You don't want to throw something in your tuner's lap and then they'll be like, dude, I don't tune Mega Squirt. And you're like, now you got to scramble, try to find somebody. Here's the other thing. Remote tuning is really where it's at these days. You can pretty much remote tune any system. You can remote tune binary editor, which is your Moch quarter horse. You can remote tune Terminator X, HP stuff, it doesn't matter, whatever you're using, Mega Squirt, Micro Squirt. The problem still though is going to come from finding a good tuner. So when you find that tuner, ask them what they want you to do and then buy that system and talk to them. Let's take a little bit of time and talk about timing. How do we control that? Well, your tuner, the person tuning your car, will be able to control your timing for you. Now, if you don't get your car tuned and you got an FMU, there's ways of doing this, but this is also one of the reasons why you can't really go crazy on one of those setups, or at least I don't recommend it with an FMU. And here's why. Your factory timing curve is set, meaning it's going to start here and then advance here. It has a certain degree of advance built into it. So the only thing that you can do is back that curve back down. Let's look at it like this. This is the beginning of your timing curve. This is the end of your timing curve. See that red over there? That's good for NA, right? That's gonna make the most power, something like that. We can't just do this if you have an FMU. If you didn't send it to a tuner to get this thing worked on and tuned, this thing is still, your curve looks like this. So what we have to do is shift the entire curve back. So what does that mean? We're gonna reduce the timing starting down here. So instead of 14 degrees of timing, you're gonna be somewhere around 10 degrees of timing, possibly even 8 degrees of timing. So the car's not gonna feel as peppy, but this ultimate, like this mark right here for your timing, is not going to be over here in the unsafe zone. See, unsafe, safe. You're going to lose a little more power down here, and the reason for that is because you're not paying someone to tune your car to go in and change those numbers, which they can do. Now that's going to limit you on boost, I'm not going to lie to you. somewhere, like I said, around 8 pounds of boost, man. I wouldn't probably run much more. You could probably squeeze 10 pounds, but just be careful. You also don't want to have too little timing in it. The car's not going to want to idle good, run good, and shit like that, right? All right, so while we're talking about timing, let's go ahead and talk about ignition. What are we going to do to make sure that this thing basically doesn't blow the fire out? All right, first things first, we're going to re-gap the plugs. So instead of taking a plug that's 35 thousandths or 42 or whatever you guys like to run, we're going to knock this thing down somewhere around 20 thousandths, possibly even less depending, but most of you guys in the 8 to 12 pounds of boost realm, 23, 25 thousandths usually is good. But here's what I'll tell you guys, and it's something to think about. When you're gapping your plug, I hear a lot of people say, I don't really want to go all the way down to 20. I'm only running, 10 pounds of boost. I shouldn't need it. Well, guys, I've had cars with 18 pounds, 20 pounds, 25 pounds of boost, and you have to gap those plugs down really tight. You're talking like 18, 19 thousandths that you're gapping those plugs down real tight. Here's what I noticed. Even when the car is not in boost, it still runs fine. Crazy, right? Something to think about. So if these cars are able to ride around with no problems under no boost at 18 thousandths gap, then why wouldn't you go ahead and do it? There's been countless videos out there that show that it really doesn't matter on your plug gap that much, just as long as you've got a good strong fire. Speaking of which, we're gonna need an MSD box at bare minimum, okay? You need an MSD box to put on this car. Now my cars actually don't have them, but I'm telling you guys, you need it. You can usually pick up a 6A used from somebody. It doesn't even have to be an L. The L stands for limiter, and you're not really gonna need that. You can use your factory limiter, but if for some reason you want to dial in your rev limiter how you want to, you can actually use the 6AL on your car and change the rev limiter then. Here's the thing though, you can't exceed the factory rev limiter, but you can bump it down to the safe side. So you can have the MSD catch it before your computer catches it. Gonna need that because that's gonna give you a stronger spark. Issue you start running into is when you start making boost, you're gonna blow spark out and the car's gonna feel weird. A lot of people think they have really messed their car up, blown a head gasket, something like that. Because as soon as you get into boost, these things poop, pop, 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 they act real weird. Coils, that's a hard word for me to say, just so y'all know, but I'm trying for you, I'm trying. I say coil. You need to get you a good coil. I like the Demon coil. I like the older MSDs work fine, or you can go to Advanced, O'Reilly. Get on now. Or you can just go to O'Reilly, AutoZone, whatever you got near you, and pick up a good coil. You're fine with that, especially if you're running MSD. So plug wires are usually fine. These Ford Racing work great. Used them for years. Anderson Ford Motorsport has the big wires, which I absolutely love. I like them, and plus they're just beautiful. But your standard Ford Racing wires will work just fine as well. As far as distributor, guys, stock distributor's fine. Your car controls timing through this distributor, through a TFI. This is not a stock distributor anymore, but a TFI distributor is what is going to control the timing on your car. So your stock one's fine. If you need to upgrade, you can. There's some companies out there that make some for you, but typically stock style is fine. Most of the time you're gonna need to relocate your alternator, drop it down, and you'll need a different pulley setup down here, an idler pulley, so to go in place of like smog pump style stuff. So that usually will come with the kit. If it doesn't, just ask whoever you're getting the kit from to get all of the brackets and pulleys and everything that you need. Before we leave this video, I do want to remind you guys I highly recommend that you upgrade your fuel lines on your car, the whole fuel system. I know it's a little daunting. Most people don't want to do that, but hear me out, y'all. You really want to be safe. Buy yourself some Evil Energy fuel line. You can get it off Amazon. It's going to run you about 200 bucks for everything you need for your fuel line. That should pretty much cover as far as fuel line goes. I know it's expensive. I get it. Nobody wants to be dealing with fuel lines and braided stuff and AN fittings and shit. I get it. That peace of mind of knowing that your fuel system is up to par. There's always pretty much going to be a bottleneck when it comes to factory style tank setups with the fuel hat that's in the top up here. Most of them are only ever going to have a -6 return and feed typically, but most of them, the drop-in style, are going to be 6.6. That's fine. If you guys want to upgrade to that, no issue. The bigger feed line and return line you have, the better it's going to be for your fuel pump and your fuel system. You can carry more volume. So think about upgrading your fuel system. I'm not going to get into all that with you today, but this will allow you to run nice AN lines, run all your stuff the way you want to, get it out of the way of the exhaust or whatever you need. I highly recommend it. Also, we need to talk about fuel rails. So fuel rails are optional if you're going to be 8 PSI, you really don't even need fuel rails. A nice set of fuel rails will absolutely help you out And that helps you get towards that direction of, like, if you want to turn this thing up at any point, you can turn it up. Somebody gets out there and starts running that mouth, you got the fuel system now. You got the fuel line, you got the fuel pump. I mean, you're kind of ready, right? The only thing that's the factor is your bottom end. Like, is it gonna hold up? Hell, it probably will for one pass. Turn it up a little bit. You can do that, but you gotta have all these other things in place. Otherwise, you're locked in around that 6 to 8, max 8 probably PSI. I do want to touch on carb to guys. So if you're carbureted and you want to go with a supercharger or turbo, nothing to it. You can still do it. Blow through setup, I recommend it. I did it, had really good luck with it. We did it and had fun with it, and honestly, I would even call it successful. Just a couple little hiccups here and there. All right, so what's my recommendation for you guys? Me personally, I would go with like an Anderson B21 camshaft, N41, a B cam, a E cam, whatever your car likes. Even the Trick Flow Stage 1 cam is a pretty good cam, right? Throw a camshaft in your car like that. Personally, I would go with a SCI supercharger or Vortec. I really like those. You could also just go SI. SI is actually the one that's a little more capable, but for what most of you guys are gonna be wanting to do, the SCI is gonna be perfect. Fuel system wise, I would go ahead and buy, I think it is Pro M, makes a drop-in fuel hat assembly. You can buy that. Go online, buy some Dash 6 AN line, 450 pump, 425 pump, something like that, whatever you can find around that range, drop it in the car. I would put a Terminator X on it personally and get it remote tuned. And there you go, guys. You should be good to go. You're gonna be right around 400 wheel horsepower, 380 to 450. It depends on whether you got heads or not, what kind of camshaft you go with, but you should be somewhere around the 400 wheel mark with a setup like that. Our cars, as light as they are, can really be competitive out there with a lot of these other cars. Sorry, I don't have all the B-roll for you like normal, but the retro didn't want to cooperate today. So one thing that I forgot to mention in the video, so I want to come back out and talk to you guys about it, is cooling. I've had a lot of people ask, well, how do you keep your car cool after you do a supercharger or turbo? All right, let's be honest. If you're running like an SCI, typically you don't have that much of a cooling issue. Turbo, definitely a lot more heat under the hood, and something like a TI trim or a YSI, something like that, it's gonna be a lot bigger and it's gonna create a little more heat. So here's what I recommend for you guys. Down in here, now this car still has the intercooler from when it was turboed, so it's still down in here, but you're gonna have a condenser that sits here for most of your AC cars if you still have your AC. Those condensers get clogged up and beat up from rocks, from bugs, from just garbage and trash. So you get packed in there in between that and the radiator and you don't know about it. So your car will run hot if that condenser is plugged, because it needs to go through the condenser before it gets into the radiator. So make sure you're checking your condenser, and you really need to at least pull your radiator out of the car to see down in there and make sure this thing's not clogged, okay? Because it can get up in between it. Also, there's one other thing. Down here you have a little deflector. It's gonna be hard to see. See these deflectors down here? Now LMR sells these things, and I highly recommend that you put yours back on if you don't have it, or if it's bent and messed up, put a new one on it. As far as fans go, honestly, the Contour fans work great. That's what I use. You can either get them out of a wrecking yard, or LMR sells their version. I'm not sure if LMR's version pulls as many CFM, but what I can tell you is this setup has worked flawlessly for me in this car. There's also a lot of other options out there. I mean, just go around the wrecking yard and look, see what you can find. You will start to run into issues a lot of times with these single big fans, because they're so large they want to touch the water pump or the pulley up here. So that's why you see these things with two smaller fans, is to give yourself a little bit of a break down here in the center. Remember, you can offset it. You can put a pusher fan as well, so you can put a big pusher fan up here. Some of you guys, get down in the comment section and sound off about turning your fan off while you're cruising. I've heard a lot of people say at high speeds they actually turn their fan off because it becomes more of a restriction then. Let me know, have you done that before, and does it help out? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up, and as always,
thanks for watching.
There we go.